You know the problem with Hollywood is? They make shit. Unbelievable, unremarkable shit. Now, I'm not some grungy wannabe filmmaker that's searching for existentialism through a haze of bong smoke or something. No, it's easy to pick apart bad acting, short-sighted directing, and the purely moronic stringing together of words that many of the studios term as prose. No, I'm talking about the lack of realism. Realism. Not a pervasive element in today's modern American cinematic vision. Take Dog Day Afternoon, for example. Arguably Pacino's best work, short of Scarface and Godfather Part 1, of course. Masterpiece of directing, easily Lumet's best. The cinematography, the acting, the screenplay, all top-notch, but they didn't push the envelope.
So there we have it. That's John Travolta's thought on Hollywood cinema. Just an awesome introduction to the movie. Might have been one of the best parts of the movie.
That has a lot to do with Machinima because it is very easy to reproduce the same kind of films from person to person, and originality is at a premium.
Abuse of cliches.
It quite nicely ties in with what Machinima on the whole strives towards, you know.
Just that's coming. You know they're going to say it. It's just too predictable. That's what John Travolta is talking about, and we just wanted to kind of give you guys something to think about when he said pushing the envelope, thinking outside the box. Always think of open ideas, new ideas. Try and do something different.
You might be the next French democracy. Indeed, yet to be seen, but yes.
Welcome back to Machinima Live. My name is Phil, and I'm joined with Doc from the UK, and we're here today to talk to you more about what's going on in the Machinima community. We have a few news tidbits that we're going to bring you first. Then we're going to get around to some movie contests that are going on. Very important movie contests, things to kind of advertise Machinima as an art. And then we have a special interview with Mike Frazier talking about his upcoming Machinima film, Magica. That should be very interesting. And then we'll kind of get into flavors of Machinima. That's kind of what we've called this podcast for tonight. But we're going to touch on two particular Machinima engines, both the movies and the Sims 2. And talk about the differences and what's easier and what beginner Machinima artists need to start recording their own films. And then Doc's going to help us, and we're going to review The Return by Rufus Q Productions, which seemed to be a highly anticipated film. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the newest, Machinima news that's out there in the community, and kind of get you guys up to speed on what's going on out there. So to start out, we have Machinima Mag 7, and for those of you listening that have no idea what Machinima Mag is, it's more of a electronic Machinima magazine that gets released usually once a month, depends on how much is going on. But this latest released is version 7, and for those of you that would like to view that release, or earlier versions, can go to www.machinimag.com. It's MACHINIMAG.com. And on the right-hand side, you'll get all these links to the Machinima Mag releases. And you need Adobe Acrobat Reader to view these. But, briefly summarize it, this episode, or this release, includes a 2005 Machinima Film Festival review. Has pictures and talks about the major players in the Machinima Awards. It talks about the newest game, the movies from Lionhead Studios, which we'll be talking about later. It's got a great book review on the latest Machinima book, which I don't know who is written by. Doc, do you have that name offhand?
I'm not sure. I'm not 100% on the names, but it was written by some of the guys at shortfuse.com who made No License, a Machinima film from about a year ago, I think. A lot of people probably know.
Yeah, the title of the book was called Making Animated Movies in 3D Virtual Environments. And they did a good job summarizing what the book was about. It isn't all technical per se. It has more of, what does the book include? It gets more for beginners. It has a lot of screenshots, more colored pages. It just touches on, what you would need to get started, what's out there.
Written by Matt Kelland, David Lloyd, and Dave Morris.
There you go. All right.
Hey.
Thanks, Doc. And it touches on the RIAA and copyright issues, amongst others. There were 2 situations I think I read about where a website was shut down because copyrighted material. Well, I don't think it was shut down. It was a hoax from what I heard on the article. But their website, they took it down just to be on the safe side. But we will discuss later on in future episodes about copyright issues, infringements, and what you need to do to kind of watch yourself when you go and produce machinima that might include copyrighted musics, sounds, and copyrighted material, like models or anything like that. So, but
what really strange is how the movies ties in with that quite well, because I think as part of the license, any of the movies that you upload to the Lionhead site, Lionhead kind of owns the rights for. I'm not sure if that's the exact details of it, but it's something near that.
Yeah, it just briefly, Lionhead basically, they have told all these users that when you upload your movie to their website, they partially own that content, and they can do whatever they would like with it, whether they publicize it, distribute it to other people. But again, it's your own creative art as well, but you can't really go around selling your material. That's like the basic point there. But we'll get into that later. So go ahead and, for those of you that haven't read Machinima Mag 7, go ahead and pick up and download a copy from machinimag.com. The next thing we wanted to bring up was Coyote Republic. Their website is at www.coyoterepublic.tv, and she is holding a Short Tales Machinima contest monthly. It's a monthly Machinima contest, and movies should be produced at 2 minutes or less. That's their criteria. December's theme was paranormal or medicine. What that means is center your movie something around medicine or around paranormal activity. So they're going to try and vary it from month to month, which I think is really nice. Entries were supposed to be submitted by Sunday, December 18th, which was just yesterday. So if you're still working on your December entries, it's too late. Entry forms for future contests for January especially can be downloaded on the Short Tales Forums website. Okay, that's on Coyote Republic's website, of course. Click on the Short Tales Forum link, then click the contest themes, and then there should be a sticky link called General Entry Form, and it's a Word document. Go ahead and download that. You can fill it out. And it should give you information on where to upload your movie to. I think you can provide a link as well for download. So that's the Short Tales Machinima contest. I think that's kind of neat, though, how she's doing it.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity for some people who want to do more with their films than just put them on a website for other people to see. You can have them actively competing with a few other films. I mean, when this has been tried a few times before by Coyote Republic, and it wasn't the greatest success, but I think now, after the festival, and I don't know, a lot of people seem to have come back into the community again a bit more actively, so this one should be a lot more eventful, I think.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think the other thing that she kind of hit the target audience on this by requiring the films to be no longer than 2 minutes.
Yeah, nice and suitable for all us internet users' attention spans.
Yeah, it's so much easier to produce a film in 2 minutes. It doesn't take as much time.
Indeed.
I know with your Bouncers episode, a couple minutes long. More production going into it, but hey. Let's see. Visiting another website that has some really good news updates is 3dfilmmaker.com. Again, that's www.3dfilmmaker.com. And Ken Thane is the one that runs that website. But it's been reviewed as probably having the best news updates related to machinima and gaming out there. Every time I've gone to that website, I've picked up new articles every single time, and he updates that site daily. So for any updated news, kind of stay on top of things, go ahead and check out 3dfilmmaker.com. It's an excellent website for resources and stuff like that.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is possibly even older than Machinima.com. This has been running for even longer than that. I'm not 100%. If not, it is the second oldest, longest running Machinima website.
The third and last item that we have here under news is Blizzard and Xfire are sponsoring, well, not sponsoring, but they're putting together a World of Warcraft movie contest that actually just got launched a week ago. But if you visit www.xfire.com, they're holding one of the largest Machinima contests to date. Again, this contest is just specifically for Machinima movies. And their judging will be on categories in dance, comedy, and drama. Additional prizes will be awarded for best music, dialogue, action scenes, punchlines, and editing and special effects. Entries must be submitted by January 21st, 2006, so get those movies cranking if you own World of Warcraft. I don't personally own that game, so I can't really tell you much about it, but some of the top prizes will include, which I'm trying to get my hands on right now, is the AMD Athlon 64 dual core. It's a 4800. Just it's phenomenal processor. This
yeah, that's what I thought. That seems ridiculously fast.
Yeah, and it's retail at like $1,000. So for those of you that have the best movie in drama and comedy and dance out there, you'd probably be willing to get your hands on one of those. So the Xbox 360 premium console will be a feature prize, along with Corsair 512 meg USB flash drive. There will also be an XFX GeForce 7800 GTX 256 meg PCI Express graphics card. I'm trying to save my money for that one as well, Doc.
Keep it GeForce. Keep it safe.
And the Sound Blaster XFI Platinum sound card. Fairly decent. I mean, I haven't really bought the Sound Blasters in a while, but again, it's a top-notch card from what I hear. So
yeah, same here. The one I've got now is ridiculously old, so I can't even begin to testify. But
still does a job, right?
Yeah, we all trust Sound Blaster, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what's going on around us in the Machinima world. So again, please stay updated, and the best place to go for news is 3dfilmmaker.com. And remember to continue checking Machinima.com for new movie releases. There's also a news section towards the bottom. Just register on the community if you haven't done so. I think it's a great place for Machinima producers to go and talk about their movies, tips, and trade secrets and all that good stuff. So that's all we have right now in terms of news. Coming up next, we're going to have a special interview. Actually, looking forward to this. A special interview with Mike Frazier on his upcoming Machinima film Magica, which is to be released in 2006. So we'll talk with him after this break.
Howdy everyone, my name's Mike Fraser, aka Taco Shack 27, and I head the production group Model Check Productions. Right now I'm currently age 31. I never really got into Machinima until I started making Sims 2 movies. And that was back in September 2004. And believe it or not, before then I've seen Machinima, but I've never really known the term for it. So, until then I really did not know what it was. And no, before anyone kills me or says anything, I haven't been living under a rock. My first Machinima series was Sim Wars, and what I wanted to do with that was take the Sims 2 world and add in the Star Wars realm and mythos to it. I relied heavily on a lot of CG and blue screening work for that series, and it lasted 12 episodes, I believe. It was going to run 16, but I had a huge hard drive crash. But ever since then, I was hooked. Now, the basic story behind Magica is that there was a group of rogue dark mages known as the Brotherhood. And in their clan, they had this powerful arcane spellbook called Magica. And they used that to rule the land of Borodine with an iron fist. They brought darkness to the world and pretty much enslaved humanity. Along came the group known as the Walkers, and they fought against the Brotherhood, driving them back, and recaptured the Book of Magica and locked it away. With that, peace was brought to the land for many, many years, until one day the book itself disappeared, and the Brotherhood are going to make their return. I chose the Sims 2 engine for the main reason is that I'm comfortable with it, and from all the custom content I've been finding lately that fits the style of story that I want to tell, I thought, why not? It's also not going to be all Sims 2. It will also feature CG effects as well as CG animation. I plan on using, of course, Sims 2 for the engine, Sony Vegas for the editing of the video clips, and also some of the audio. I'll also be using Audacity for some of the audio editing as well. For the CG effects and CG animations, I will be using a program called Cinema 4D XL. I've used it many years for animation and renderings, and I'm very comfortable with it as well. And it's very fast rendering, it's very speedy, and it's very efficient in what it does. I think the most difficult thing about producing Magica is going to be the combining of the CG elements and the Sims elements to make everything look like it flows together. Model Check Productions is just a one-man crew. I do all the script writing, the editing, the shooting, the directing, the audio work, the CG animation work. I was lucky enough to have G-Tune help me out with a few voices in a series I once did for Sims 2 called Triumvirate, or some people call it the Triumvirate. He was also nice enough to lend his services to help with the sound effect editing as well on Triumvirate. So if you're listening out there, G-Tune, hopefully you can do a voice for me or two for this production. I think what makes Magica unique is the combination of CG effects, CG animation, and Sims 2 engine. I don't believe there's many Sims 2 Machinima out there that actually combine these elements. The two big things I hope the audience gets excited about is the deep story that Magica is going to have with it, and the combination of the CG effects. I want to try to give the audience something that they haven't seen before in the Sims 2 world, and hopefully that comes out with the production of Magica. Magica is definitely going to be a feature. It's not going to be a series like my other pieces of work. And with Magica, I hope to give the audience a great adventurous romp, and hopefully give them something that they haven't seen before in the Sims 2 Machinima world. I would like to take this time to thank Phil for having me on the show to talk about Magica, and I hope you all get to see it when it comes out next year. It won't be out anytime soon, but it will be out in 2006. Thank you all, and have a good night.
Okay, that was Mike Frazier. Thanks again for joining us on Machinima Live. As again, you just heard Mike talking about his upcoming film, Magica. I watched the trailer. Doc, I'm sure you have. Do you have any preliminary thoughts on it?
Well, Sims 2 films, for anyone who's seen enough of them, usually have a very set look. They're usually very urban, around like houses and civilization, technology, blah blah blah. Whereas this is a bit of a flip of that, and it's set in a obviously from looking at the trailer you'll be able to see it's set in a much like older time.
Right.
And a bit of what we spoke about last week. This is the kind of thing I like to see in Machinima. People using engines in ways that that they've yet to be used, and ways that we wouldn't quite expect them to be.
Right, and doing it creatively, kind of, again, pushing the envelope, maybe changing, maybe doing something that someone hasn't done yet. That's always kind of what you'd have to encourage people to do.
Exactly.
Is not do the mainstream thing, even though everyone's doing music videos now, which are fine. And I don't want to get into a different discussion on that, but you always have to kind of keep an open mind and try and do something new and different. And sometimes you can catch on to it; it can become really popular.
Indeed.
So thanks again, Mike, for joining us on that segment. Coming up next, we're going to take another break, and we're going to break down these two great game engines that have been released within the last year. One that was just released, it's called The Movies from Lionhead Studios, and the other one has been out for a while, but it's called The Sims 2. I'm sure most of you have heard of it or have played it. A very popular game. Doc is going to go over some of the things that he likes about each engine and kind of comparing and contrasting the two. And then again, some tips for you beginners out there so you can actually start making your own films. So when we come back, we'll kind of get started on that.
And welcome back to the show. This is Dr. Nemesis, co-host of Machinima Live with Digital Phil, the hoster that you've been listening to so far. This part of the show is called Flavors of Machinima. What we're going to be doing is looking at some of the engines that are really ideal for people who are being introduced to Machinima and want to get making stuff and aren't quite sure where to go. One of the newest, of course, this is the newest games, is called The Movies by Lionhead Studios, which we've mentioned once or twice already. And this one's really good because it pretty much doesn't get any easier than this in terms of starting in what can quite easily be a very confusing and confusing place that's filled with lots of information. It's still a game, is the one thing that you've got to remember. So above all, everything, it's very much centered around having fun, which is probably why it's the best introduction to it for newbies. It has a lot of pre-made sets and characters and even pre-made scripts as part of the game. But what the game allows you to do is block your stuff. You got your idea. You can lay down your characters and your sets and get them in sequence and edit them together. And from what I've seen so far, is a reasonably rudimentary editing system. And you can come out with a pretty basic film. I mean, so far I haven't really seen anything that has not been that similar from the next. They all have a very, very same look and feel to them. But for those of you who just want to learn, it is great.
Now, I bought that special edition that came with the DVD, and in playing the game, I saw that there was one huge limitation, which I've heard a lot of complaints about, is that there's no free camera. And Doc, if you can just explain what a free camera is, because you hear it a lot on the forums, and if you're not really a big Machinima filmmaker, how would you describe what that is? What does it give you the ability to do?
Well, if you look at it in real filmmaking terms, you pretty much have the ability to put your camera wherever you want. You can have like close-ups over the shoulder, crane shots. You can have them moving in every. I mean, in real life, this would obviously depend on your hardware, but in most Machinima, where you control a disembodied person. You can fly around in all axes, and there is no limitation in terms of camera. This is described as free camera. And what happens in the movies, because it was very much trying to appeal to people who have no knowledge of this sort of thing. I mean, in general, if you give someone who doesn't know anything about cinematography or filmmaking, what will often happen is that the camera work will be a mess. It goes all over the place. I mean, back in the day when what was called recamming first came out, where you record a film and then you could go back in and do the camera work, a lot of people were just doing crazy things because they had the opportunity to do so. But what happens in the movies is that the camera positions are preset. So you already have your very masterfully placed and framed shots, and what you do is you choose them.
It's very hard to often get the best of both worlds when you make a game like this, because you're trying to appeal to the beginners, the newbies for that matter, and you want them to be able to start creating their films right off the bat without running into too many technical issues. And then you have these hardcore machinima filmmakers like yourself, Doc, that like these tools to be more robust and more manual. And I think that the mod community will start to kind of generate its own tools and hacks into the game that will allow these people to use the free camera.
Well, the thing is that there are obviously more people who aren't very well versed in filmmaking, so you do, if it's in terms of money making, you want to appeal more to those who are new to it. At the same time, I think they are aware at Lionhead that in terms of longevity, you want the ability for people to, you want the capabilities of the game to progress with the abilities of the user. So
Exactly.
They're going to release a patch. I don't know if this is true. I've heard, read things here and there, but they are going to release a patch that really, I don't know if it's actually going to be a patch or an add-on for a commercial add-on. That is really going to improve a lot of the things that are already there, and one of these things supposedly is a free camera.
Yeah, I kind of heard that there was going to be an add-on pack, like you said, it was going to be called the Director's Cut, but I heard that from a forum. It wasn't an official source. It said that it was going to include the ability for free cameras and custom props, because there's people out there that want to model their own stuff and bring it into the game, and that's another big thing, because those sets are going to get old after every,
Well, that's one of the things that's most annoying for me, is that not only in terms of making it is it very limited, because you can't create your own assets that you'd want to make.
Right, exactly.
That every single film that you watch reuses certain things, and what happens is different filmmakers are going to try and reuse the same thing but in a different context, and this is very difficult as a viewer who doesn't play the game so much. It really it doesn't work out so well.
To kind of briefly summarize the remainder of the whole movie section here is, not only can you create movies, but you can also kind of be in control of the movie industry, so you can act as a producer. So if you're not into making films, you can also control the game and build your movie studio, control your actors, and let them grow and earn money, and you become profitable, they become profitable, that whole storyline there. You can create your own movie stars with the Create a Movie Star add-on. I think that comes with the full version of the game, but it's kind of like a Sims type thing. Discover and make over unknowns, deal with stars, egos, break careers. The game has an excellent soundtrack. You can create your own films, and the biggest thing here is it's got its own built-in editor. So for those of you out there that don't know how to use Windows Movie Maker and external utilities for creating films, you can use the game's built-in editing functionality, so you can move pieces together and create your film within the game.
And of course, a very large part to add to that is that you can then export to video from inside the game and upload your video to the Lionhead site, so that other movies makers can watch your stuff.
Yep, it's already ready to go, so you don't have to do any more encoding.
That has been one of the issues.
Has it?
This year, last year. It's always been an issue, really, where to upload stuff. Machinima.com does host, but the servers often get full, and in the past, I mean, lately it seems to have been fine, but in the past they've had a lot of problems with it being busy almost 24/7, and this really does help that, I think.
You would possibly think that there would be a place within the game that allows you to upload your content from the game itself, not, quitting the game, and then actually uploading it after that point.
Well, as I haven't, and I wouldn't really, because I don't really have time, and I'm not really interested in doing quite that, but I'm not entirely sure what the process is for uploading the movies to the internet, but
Right,
I'm
right.
sure, as keeping with the rest of the game, it is reasonably simple.
Okay. How would this compare to The Sims 2?
Right. Now, The Sims, on the other hand, from the movies, isn't something that was primarily made for films, so you'll always have a little bit more of that guerrilla feel to it, because
Right.
you'll be trying to get a car to fly almost, which it was not really intended to do.
All right.
And there are certain things that you have to do. Use a few more cheats to make your Sims a little bit more controllable.
Right.
And your camera work you always have to be conscious of that, because as far as I know, I mean, I'm not a great expert on it, but as far as I know, there isn't any way of removing the diamond that you get over the sim that you're currently controlling, and just little things like that. So when you got a frame, there are a lot of considerations to make.
Right. Well, one of the things that I kind of found interesting about The Sims 2 is if you're making a film, kind of what compares to the movies is that you can build your house from scratch. You can customize the look of your set. They have the university add-on. They have nightlife add-on for bars and clubs and things like that, restaurants. So you can pretty much, I would think, design your own set with the props that you want, as in comparison with the movies where you have all the pre-built sets that right now you only get a couple of downloads depending on how well your movies do. You can download additional content, but you don't have complete control over how you design your set. They're kind of given to you based on what type of film you'd like to produce. So that's one of the cool things about The Sims 2. It's not really made for Machinima, but it has that functionality for recording.
Well, that is indeed one of the advantages that it has, is that it's been around for so much longer than the movies that
Right.
It's got to a point now where the modding community is very much alive, and of course the game already comes with the ability to do so much to your characters and sets that no two sets in any Machinima film really have that much reason to be the same.
Right.
Where in time, I'm sure the movies will be able to catch up with most of The Sims 2's charms and capabilities, and maybe possibly surpass those, even though they still will feel very different, because the movies tends to have very quirky feel to that animation and
Right.
certain other things. But The Sims 2 definitely at the moment, for those who want to rise above the limitations that the movies now has, is a great idea.
So yeah, I mean, for those of you out there, to kind of summarize this, The Sims 2 again isn't as similar to the movies. The similarities is that you can build your characters just like you can in the movies, but after that, The Sims 2 is based on living your life, building a family, all those kind of things, which is totally outside of what we're talking about. But you can build your characters if that's your realm of thinking, building your sets and then using those created actors or people to actually play in your movie. And with The Sims 2, all I'm going to say is that it's more difficult to get your Sims placed, and you have to do a lot of tricks and techniques to be able to make something like that. But it can be done, and there's a lot of people out there that have...
Yeah, there is a huge... In fact, I often see this and think to myself, is this bigger than the main Machinima community? If you check out The Sims 99, that's www.sims99.com, I don't know how many films are there, but there's a great wealth of films. A lot of help will be given from a lot of people who have so much experience already on making Sims 2 movies. So it's a really good place to check stuff out.
Indeed it is, and I have seen many great films based on the Sims 2 engine. So there's a lot of them out there. We're not going to go into details, but yeah. Thanks for the comparison, Doc. That was great.
Thank you.
Now what we're going to do, we're going to take another quick break actually, and we'll be right back, and we're going to discuss some of the software that's maybe required to record and produce Machinima if a game doesn't have its own built-in recording utilities. And then we'll give you some tips and tricks for having a successful Machinima production so that you can win an award at the Mackies next year.
May I read my paper? I'm sorry, sir. Thank you.
You know what? I'll get something to eat.
No, hell no, you won't. You fuck that up. I'm trying to read my paper. Please, shut up.
I sure wouldn't mind not roasting a hot black and white all summer.
Tell me a story. Wait.
Like my story?
No, not your story. A story. Since you can't keep your mouth shut long enough for me to read my paper, tell me a story.
I don't think I know any stories.
You don't know any stories?
No.
All right, I'll tell you a story. This is a newspaper, right? It's 90% bullshit, but it's entertaining. That's why I read it, because it entertains me. You won't let me read it. So you entertain me with your bullshit. Tell me a story right now. Go.
Welcome back again, and we're going to talk now about some software that you guys can use as Machinima makers out there to capture your footage if your game doesn't have built-in recording utility, and how to actually kind of what software basically do you need to get your film put together and rendered out into a internet format so that you can submit it to a website for other people to view. So Doc has a lot of this information with him right now, so I'm going to let him elaborate on kind of what is required for us Machinima makers out there.
Okay, in most situations, what you'll need is, well, the process is that you act out your scene, and then while that's going on, you record that to video. And this is done using a program called Fraps. This is the most popular tool for that particular job. That can be found at www.fraps.com. And what you have to bear in mind with that is that you have to have a computer with a reasonably good speed, because when you record, it tends to be a little bit more taxing on your system. So if you have large outdoor scenes in particular, and there's a lot of stuff going on, it will start to chug, and that will be in the recording. That won't come out smooth. In my eyes, it's definitely not the ideal way of doing Machinima, but as many games don't have a feature to record, that is the best way to do it. There are other very technical ways, depending on how much you know, that we won't be going into, but Fraps is cheap and reasonably effective.
Okay.
The next thing you'll almost definitely be needing is, and this tool's free, it's called Audacity. This is a sound editing tool. You can cut out all the bits that you don't need, put a few effects on your sounds. Basically, most of the stuff you will need to do in your Machinima film, that can be found at audacity.sourceforge.net.
Okay.
And the next one is also a free tool. This is for video editing. Once you've captured the scenes in the film, you'll have lots of little like bits of it. You'll need to put them all together, cut them up into what's going to be your final film. For that, you can use Virtual Dub. Like I said, it's free. You can find that at www.virtualdub.org. That's virtualdub.org. And I haven't been there for a while, but as far as I know, there should be a community which is quite helpful with that.
Yeah, they have some good plugins to use too.
Yeah, for effects and things like that, don't they?
But for those of you that download that program and go, "What the hell? How do I use this?" Because it can seem intimidating at first, because you're just given a screen and it's kind of not very intuitive at first. It's easy to use once you start using it. But what's a good alternative to that program? It comes with Windows XP.
It's Movie Maker, isn't it? Yeah.
Don't know whether your preference will be Virtual Dub or Movie Maker, but I've heard that
in all likelihood it will probably be Movie Maker for those who have XP.
Okay.
I think, because it is very much geared towards, like, I don't know, the masses, everyone. It's meant to be very easy.
It's just based on drag and drop, folks. So you can take your videos that you've produced from Fraps and then just drag them onto Movie Maker, and it's easy as that. You can just drag your clips and move them around and then input your music, and it's the same way. You take your music, drag and drop, and when you're done, you just kind of render it out to whatever format that you want to, put it in.
So the very small minority of people who won't have Windows XP or a Windows platform at all, Virtual Dub and Audacity are multi-platform tools. So, and the next one that I'm about to bring up actually.
Audacity. Before you bring up the next one, Audacity is excellent. Like you said, it's multi-platform, so you're operating in the Mac, Linux, Windows, what have you. Yeah, I downloaded that the other day. It just has a ton of features on there. It's amazing what they kind of came out in that.
Exactly. For something that's free, it is really amazing. It's really good. In fact, I was planning on writing a few tutorials on this a while ago, because one of the most important things in Machinima when you record the dialogue is noise reduction, because there's obviously a lot of ambient sounds in the room.
Right.
The one that you can almost never escape from is the hum of your computer's fans, sometimes lights in the room, and of course the microphone picks up ambient crap that you never want to hear anyway.
Right.
And it has the noise reduction features that will allow you to kill that and just have a nice, smooth recording.
Yeah, purely excellent tool for that.
Exactly. And the next one is not something that everyone will need, but for those who want to delve into modding your game, which is where you go into it and start changing certain things. Like way back when I was in secondary school, I always wished that I could, while playing Quake 1, I could I had pictures of teachers' faces, and I could put those on the monsters, and then shoot those as I ran around. That is a really basic example of modding. You just replace some skins and stuff like that. I think that should be where everyone starts anyway. But if you don't have Adobe Photoshop, which is quite expensive, or PaintShop Pro, which is quite cheap in comparison, but still not everyone wants to go there. There is a tool called GIMP.
Oh yes.
That can be found at www.gimp.org, GIMP. And that is like Audacity. That's just full of cool features that are very useful in terms of picture editing, like full stop. Not even just Machinima, but editing images in any way.
It's what a lot of people would call a fat program. That thing's got everything.
But those are the three, if you like, basic tools that are good to download and research if you're going to start. I mean, bar Virtual Dub, they are all reasonably simple to learn how to use.
Yeah, once you get started, I mean, it's just.
And Virtual Dub really isn't that hard, but for absolute newcomers to it, it may be a little bit daunting.
There is a program out there, before we continue on to the next part. Vegas Video and home studio of Vegas Video is actually, it'll cost you a little bit of money, somewhere between $75 and $100 if you get the home version of Vegas Video. But it's an awesome program for video editing. It's got a host of features, effects, things like that. And I actually purchased a copy of that for my own use, and I have absolutely loved it.
Do you have a TV on or radio in the background?
Yes.
Every now and again I can hear way or da-na-na-na-da-da.
Yeah, they're watching a movie.
Oh, such a bad boy. During a podcast, Machinima Live, nothing less. This is really weird, I think, me saying this, because a lot of the time I used to bitch about the quality or lack of in a lot of Machinima, but recently I think there has been a rise in the quality of a lot of Machinima. And that, in part, is due to a lot more people saying things that just shouldn't be done.
Right.
One of the things that is really good to do when you're starting a production is to plan. I mean, of course, sometimes people just do it for fun and they don't want to take up so much time. But if you want your stuff to be good, don't just come up with an idea that you with your friend while you are smoking some of the herb and say, yeah, we're going to do this
right.
and run upstairs and it's some films just, I mean, of course I'm not going to be naming any names. Most of the recent films have bypassed this lack of quality, thankfully, but plan, have your story, try and develop that, try and make sure your characters are distinct and identifiable as their own selves, rather than some kind of, I don't know, caricature of. I mean, we were supposed to be talking about the Return by Rufus Cube, weren't
yeah,
we?
we will.
All right, cool. And this is an example of something that looks like it's had a lot of thought and stuff put into it.
Yep.
get your story down, get your characters down, write your script, and to the best of your ability, make sure that it's all kosher. Try and read over it, do your revisions, blah, blah, blah. I mean, even in Hollywood's worst of worst films, these things have to go over numerous drafts and such. You really can't just sit there and spit out some piece of crap and, you know, and everyone's going to appreciate. So that is the most important thing. Have a definite bona fide image of something in your mind that you want to work at.
Well, and not only that, you guys out there have to realize when you create a film here, and if you submit it online to the forums and Doc here gets a hold of it, you better hope it's good. I've heard some stories here, and hey, there's nothing wrong with breaking a film down, but you need that because you got to get some constructive criticism going, and whether it's good or bad, you know, I mean, you need someone that's going to be hard on the film. I mean,
yeah, definitely. I mean, lately, back in the day, I used to be really bad, and I was a lot younger back then. I was like a teen. And now, of course, I'm an old like guy in my 20s with a fat beard, but now I really just try to steer clear totally of films that are really bad. If a film looks bad, but you can kind of tell that some effort has been put into it, you try and give some constructive criticism to what it could have would have been better. But where guys haven't made the effort whatsoever, I won't make the effort of acknowledging that I even watched it.
Coming up next, we're going to be looking at the Machinima film Return, which was produced by Rufus Cube Productions, and it was a highly anticipated film at the Machinima Film Festival this year. We're going to do a review on that, kind of find out what's good and what's bad about the film. Not too much that I can see that's bad about it, but we're going to look at those things coming up next on Machinima Live.
Home. The sweet sound of that word had sustained me through battles beyond all counting, and visions of her, my sweet Gwyneth.
Voldegar, where have you been?
Separation was more painful than the many wounds of battle for us both. The dreams of that flickering memory, my last glimpses of my sweet Gwyneth, of Stromgard, stood out to me as the gentle dew of morning upon the soft grass of spring. But for 30 long years, war, endless war. To what end, we had long since forgotten.
The clip you just heard was from the latest movie, The Return, by Rufus Cubed Productions, which we're going to focus on for the next 5 minutes or so. Doc's going to help us review the film, find out what was good, and things that kind of stuck out after watching the film. So I guess we should first start out by saying it was produced and filmed in World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is probably an entry you're going to be going up against in the World of Warcraft movie contest, but one of the things it's about, now I never got the main character's name.
Funnily enough, neither did I, which might actually I think would be a good thing, because I was maybe so much in awe by everything that I saw, and it never occurred to me that I didn't know the main character's name.
Right, and apparently, taken from the film, that he was off doing battle, and after so many years he wants to come back and see his wife Gwyneth, if I've gotten that name right, and she, I guess, lived in this community or town called Stromgard.
Yeah.
And apparently she had died, and it kind of offers some mystery and kind of like a fantasy world. It's really well done. And one of the things that actually stuck out in my mind, again, I don't catch all the technical problems with it, if there were any, but I thought the soundtrack was really well composed. I don't know who did the music, but it was very cinematic, and it kind of told the story too. During the sad parts, it was more emotional. The music was more emotional. I thought whoever composed the music did an excellent job on it. But I kind of wanted to know more about that main lead, the gentleman, the character that was in love with Gwyneth. I never heard his name, he was going back to see her, found out that she had died years ago, and from that point it kind of goes on to reveal that they're going to go into battle and fight for the lives that were lost at Stromgarde. And that's kind of like the whole plot that I got behind watching the movie. And Doc, if you have another take on that, go ahead and feel free to...
No, that looks exactly... That sounds exactly kosher.
But I'm sure you have some comments to make on...
as usual, I'm just worried about when the right time to introduce those is.
Doc, I think you have more credibility when it comes to a Machinima production. And the only reason why I say that, and I know you're going to try and prove me wrong, but the only reason why I say that is you've actually gotten a couple films under your belt, while I have kind of cruised to the halfway point of production, and it just kind of dropped off the face of the earth. So I think you know what to expect more. You might have a better eye for it.
One thing...
Some of the things you liked about the film.
Well, of course, technically the film is great. There were very few things that weren't absolutely perfect. And funnily enough, one thing that did shock me is that this is a film that I had managed to miss the whole time before now. I had seen it around every now and again, but I didn't know that there was any reason to really go after this film and find out what it was about. And that music in the background is really funny. But the film was great. I think I never played World of Warcraft before, so I didn't actually expect the film to. For some reason, I always imagined it was a little bit like Neverwinter Nights. So when I saw the film, I thought some parts looked a little bit pre-rendered, which is always good. I was quite surprised by that. And as you said, the score is really good. I mean, in some of the pictures that I've seen on their website, it looks like one of the guys has a really huge setup, all for doing really great sound and music in there. So, in terms of, this is definitely a film that has the criteria of what I enjoy in a Machinima film. There's a lot of effort put in. It's been well thought through. It's something very different from what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, I mean, this film was nominated for Best Direction, Best Writing, Best Editing, and Off-the-Shelf Machinima at the 2005 Machinima Film Festival. So it did get nominated quite a bit. And again, I think it's highly regarded as one of the better films out there. So Doc, you did a really good job summarizing, the things that you thought were great about the film. And like I said before, like you pointed out, when I watched it again this afternoon, it felt like I was watching a trailer, an upcoming preview to The Return, and not so much just a movie. I mean, it was made at the beginning of the film. It was just introduced like a movie. It felt like a movie, but right at the end, it was kind of like that was it. They were raising their swords, like ready to fight.
Yeah, I did have a little bit of a who the hell are these people kind of feeling.
You knew who the main character was and what his motives were, but all these people are standing on the hill going, yes, we're going to go to Stromgarde, we're going to fight these evildoers or monsters and whatnot.
As far as, we haven't really seen. As a person who's not played World of Warcraft, I don't know if that added to or took away from my enjoyment of the film. I didn't know how much of it was custom. I wasn't actually aware that it was an out-of-the-box piece, but... it definitely needed a bit more in that area.
Definitely. So yeah, out
of 10, I'd probably give it a 9, and I usually don't rate out of the box Machinima that high.
Oh, we're gonna have to post.
I've got to point out that there is a big difference between out the box Machinima, which is when you get a game, you don't modify it in any way and then use that to make your film.
Right.
And then of course there's thinking outside the box, which is something that we might refer to a lot in the course of all of this, which is just trying to be original, as you all know. But yeah, we hope not to mix those up.
That's right. It's quite remarkable what people can do now, and kind of doing those things and kind of working around the tools that they have to create something that's very well done. So, again, kudos to Rufus Q Productions for Return, and we look forward to seeing more films by them in the future. Doc, you kind of want to, in the next episode, kind of talk more about the different types of game engines that are available to download or to buy.
That's right. Am I going to be presenting the next one or just doing this?
You are going to be on the spot.
Oh my
on the
God.
next episode, so you better do your homework because we are going to put you on the spot. But yeah, we want you to take charge on that one, and also we're going to talk a little bit about the RIAA infringement policies and kind of what's going on with films that have machinima films that have copyrighted music, copyrighted material. Really, that involves anything that legal matters. For those of you that don't know what the RIAA is the Recording Industry Association of America?
Yeah, that's right, as far as I know.
So
yeah, what we'll be doing is, while we take a look in a bit more in depth at something that seems to be relatively new that's coming out, the idea of a machinima suite, like one thing that you can buy to be a be all end all kind of every tool you need in one place.
Right.
We'll be talking a little bit about that, what ones are available and what ones look like they're going to come about in the future, and what implications that will have concerning the RIAA's policies on piracy and copyright infringement.
That segment, I know, that can engulf a good 20 minutes.
Exactly, that could go on for 2 days.
There's so much material, guys, for that. So we encourage all of you out there to email one of us and kind of give us your input on what you would like to discuss. If you have a certain article, anything like that would be great. Right. It would help us out.
And also, I just thought we should, like we said last week, anyone who has anything at all to that they want read out, said, any opinions, blah blah blah, mail them in, and we'll try and read them.
Definitely.
We didn't really get too much, did we? But we should thank G-Tune for sending in a very detailed description of some of the good and the bad, and some good issues that can be covered in future issues. So do feel free to be a part of the show.
Right.
And it's only now that occurred to me.
Well, not only that, none of us are really into this media relations and radio broadcasting, and I think for the first 2 episodes we've done, I'd say a pretty damn good job, Doc, and you've been excellent in helping me facilitate these discussions. But I think we're only going to get better.
Thank you. I hope I believe so too. I mean, your radio voice just can't fail, can it? So.
Nah, it's not really a radio voice. You heard me kind of choke on my tongue a couple times.
No, the public seems to love it.
Well,
and as a British guy, I'm sure I'm disliked by some as much as the British dislike the French.
We are going to try and make these things better as they go along. I think we're kind of getting more comfortable with the fact that we're talking live here, but we enjoy doing this. I think this is a fun opportunity and a great opportunity for the machinima community to try and get the word out and to get everyone excited about this technology, because it's not going away anytime soon. Mainstream possible in the future. Machinima has a bright future, I think, and it's just a matter of all of us doing a part to try and kind of make that grow. So, Doc, do you have any closing notes for us? Any words of wisdom?
No, other than you sound like a commander taking us into battle. You can't fail with you at the front.
Let's do that. Well, I'm not going to be the commander here, but
yeah, you don't want to be at the front, I guess.
Let's get an army of.
But no, those were very inspiring words. I've got drops rolling down my face onto the keyboard.
Let's get her. That's right. We will take this group into battle, and we're gonna have a revolution. Revolution of machinima here, I think.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, things are always getting better, so we'll see where it goes.
So I think that's gonna close it up for now. Kind of wish we can continue. We had a lot of fun today. I know there's a lot of material to cover, and we appreciate everyone joining in and listening to our podcast, and also to thank everyone else that had contributed to music, contributed to ideas on the show. G-Tune, again, thanks again for putting out an outline of topics to cover. We can definitely use those. And anybody else, again, please visit www.chaoticrealms.com. Doc has his website up, binarypictureshow.com. Please visit that. Right. Bouncers 3 is going to be released soon, right?
Yeah, in a few days.
Few days.
Yeah, with fingers crossed. And I'm also going to try and release episode 4 before the Christmas break, even though no one might watch it because it's Christmas break, but still, got to get out there. So yeah, look out for that.
We might try and do a Christmas special. We're not sure. This is preliminary thinking here, but if we don't produce another show before the Christmas day, you guys have a safe and happy holidays. And Doc, we will speak next week on episode 3.